Well, here's a vigorous rose, a climber named Rosarium Uetersen, and you can see it's jumping right up. But that's not actually what I want in this case. The habit I'm looking for is a lot more like this one here, because the support that I have isn't 8 feet high or 6 feet high, it's more like 3 or 4 feet high. So I'm going to train that rose to be basically horizontal along this fence, which is easier said than done when a rose wants to grow tall, but I'm going to show you step by step. I've already done a video on why and how to prune climbing roses, so this isn't going to tackle the topic from the basics and from the theory. This is just going to be an example as I walk through pruning this. And what you will notice is that there's lots and lots of brand new growth on this, and so you might begin with the question of, why didn't I do this sooner? Well, just for lack of time, really. It would have been nicer to get it before it all flushed out like this, but there's plenty of time in the early end of the season, and because this is such a strong rebloomer, I probably won't lose any productivity at all. My tool of choice will be the long-handled loppers, just to keep my hands from getting clawed up, and I'll also be wearing leather gloves as I do this. So I want to show you, I want to get right in here and show you the first material I'm aiming at is right at the very front of this pot here, and you can see it's going off in a direction that is very unlikely to add to the shape I want for this rose. It's just coming straight out the front of that pot, and there's no way to really train it backwards onto the fence, and there's other material that's closer, or other canes that are closer to the fence anyway. So I'm going to get that out of the way, and I'm also going to target over here. There's some other ones, and I'm going to put some arrows in here so you can see them, that are jumping out towards the front of the pot. So let me mount the camera on the tripod so I can show you how I take those out, but we'll have a much better view after I take those off of the shrub. Well, that's thinned it out quite a lot, taking a lot of the ones that were aiming upwards and back, or upwards and forwards, out of the way, and sort of concentrating on the ones that I can train to the left and the ones that I can train to the right. But even so, there's some room to make some decisions here on the ones I want to train to the fence left. For instance, if you look at all of the existing stems here, I would point at the one that is at the very bottom of your screen as something that's quite thick, quite crusty. You can see that the outer skin there has started to turn brown and quite woody or barky. That's an indication that that's a very old stem, and one of my goals is to rejuvenate this climber as it grows. So I don't want to take out all the old productive wood, but I do want to take out some of the old productive wood each year so that I can favor new stems. And here the case in point is that the one at the very bottom of the screen is quite old, and the one directly above it is rather green and fresh and new. And so by favoring that one, I'm going to refresh the shrub. So let me take out that old one at the bottom. And now looking at the right, I note this one right center of screen now is also quite old, and it points out quite a ways from the fence. So I'm going to take that one out. I'm also going to target this one in the back here that is quite an old piece of wood as well. That should leave me some younger stems to focus on. Well, that's quite a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of lateral shoots on each of those main stems. So that's the thing I'm going to tackle next, is sort of reducing every lateral on the main stems down to about 6 or 8 inches. So this is the main portion of the pruning finished. The same thing that I did on the left there, bringing it down to short spurs off of main branches, I also did on the right as well. And now all that remains is that I pin those each down in their respective directions against the fence and make it more horizontal. Here it is, all tied up against the fence using just natural colored twine. Will break down over time, but we'll hold it for this season anyway. Tried to train it so that there was a little bit of room between each of the stems, and you can see that we have main shoots going horizontal, and then we have the side shoots that are pruned down to 6 or 8 inches on each of those, going left and going right. This is going to be a spectacular flowering shrub. Rosarium Uetersen comes in strong pink, or maybe a color that is hard to describe because there's a little bit of a salmon tone in there. I will want to throw stems straight upwards again, but I will try to head it off at the pass each year and train it horizontally as suits my position and space here. Here's all of the discarded stems that came off of it. That's quite a lot. And I'm being a good guy, trying to stay tidy in the yard here, so I used a tarp as one of the preconditions for keeping my marriage intact. So there we go. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions about rose pruning at all, go ahead and drop those down in the comments below the video. I'll see what I can do to help.